Welcome back to another episode of the Roads We Take podcast, and I am in Lagos, Nigeria. This is my first episode on the road with my podcast, and today we have a guest. Guys, I'm so excited about the guest. Like, genuinely, the excitement is coming out of my body for the guest that we have today. We have the founder, the Meji Meji mama herself, Tolu, here with me, and I'm so excited to get into her story and how she built Meji Meji. Meji Meji is a nostalgia-led brand that weaves together bold designs with cultural memories. The brand has built a cult following, I would say, of loyal customers around the world. As you can see, I'm wearing it myself. The bold designs speak for themselves. When you see a Meji Meji babe, you already know. Meji Meji is one of the leading brands in the world that are connecting the diaspora across the world to back home. So I'm excited to sit with Tolu today to learn more about Meji Meji, how she created a brand that is so creative, so distinct, and so unique, and to learn more about who she is. Let's welcome to the Roads We Take podcast, Tolu. Hey girl, hey.
Hey.
How are you doing?
I'm good. I can't believe I'm sitting here, but I'm here.
Girl, I'm so excited to have you here. Thank you so much for coming. And you are my first ever guest on the kind of on the road of my podcast. My podcast has legs now, and you're my first person I'm having in another country. So thank you so much.
I'm happy to be the first leg. So
the first leg.
The first leg.
Exactly. So it really means a lot to me. But before we get into everything, how are you doing? How is your week going in the madness of Lagos? What have you been up to?
My week has been a little bit hectic. Yesterday I had a shoot. We were on set from 9 a.m. to like, I want to say 6. Oof. And then after that, it was Ashake listening. Then it was just like a lot. It's been a roller coaster, especially because like it's going to be my last week here till I go back to the States. We're having like a U.S. tour. So I'm just trying to like cramp everything in a week.
Checklisting. Like,
and I'm just like, the list just keeps getting longer. Save me.
I feel like whenever I'm in Lagos, that's what my life is like. I always have a million things to do, and there's always not enough time in the day. Yes. It doesn't matter how early you start. So kudos to you for getting through it. For real.
Thank you.
And so this is, obviously we've met a few times now, but I met you through my sister, Jade, who I know
Shout out to Jade.
Shout out Jade, who's also been on the podcast. She was my first guest. Love you for that, sis. I feel like the first awareness that I ever had of Meji Meji, obviously through my sister, but specifically one day years ago, she gave me a keyring or keychain, as you probably call it, with the support our ministry, the circle one. I didn't own any Meji Meji at that point, but I had that keyring. And then I feel like a couple years after that is when I acquired my first Meji Meji top, which I'm wearing now. And this top is one of my faves, among many, many others as well, but this is definitely one of them.
But why do you think that one is like the one that called you into the ministry?
Okay, so I feel like I was called into the ministry because I love colors. I'm a bright babe, I'm a maximalist. This is even not much jewelry for me usually. I feel like it's really loud, but it meshes together well. I really like, especially the braids. I feel like if you're in your Afrocentric era, the braids, the ladies of the different braids. And it actually just gives nostalgia. Like, I don't know if I don't even know what these are, but they always kind of give me like newspaper vibes, basically.
Exactly.
And I just really like that feel. I love the design of it, a little off-shoulder here, and then coming on it honestly just gives me everything I want in the top. It shapes my figure well. So
I love when people like articulate what I want to do with the brand. Because like, how did you know? Like, you just like figured out? Like,
and you know what? That is testament to the fact that what you aim to do, you're succeeding at. It means that it's translating well. Like if people are now saying back to you the brand or like how it makes them feel, and you're like, oh yeah, that's literally what I want to do. Like that is awesome. But also, I was going to say another way that we have connected when we first met in person was in China.
Oh, yes. That was so random.
Such a random country to connect in for the first time. And obviously, I was there on an overnight layover after my birthday trip. I think you were there on business.
For work, yeah.
Yeah.
Did we ever edit that YouTube video?
Oh, okay. Next question. No, I am terrible with my YouTube. I vlog so much. And then the fact that you even just said that, I'm like, oh, I forgot that I
didn't either. I didn't either.
Yeah, I should be throwing it back to you because we were both vlogging at the same time.
But that was a trip to remember.
Now you said it. I have an editor now this year. So things are going to get better. So let me send it to her and get it together. And so before I get into more of who you are. So we're here with Meji Meji. What does Meji Meji mean for people who aren't Nigerian or aren't familiar with the word or the term?
So Meji Meji in Yoruba means two. So I like to look at it as my blessing comes in two. So double, double. So like growing up, like one of my favorite songs is like, anything not double, double, not double, double. I grew up in a religious household. My dad is a pastor. So like the church has always been something that like held me grounded. So you were referring to like the keychain, and that keychain is like kind of symbolic to like the Redeem logo in a way. Right. So it kind of like plays off of the idea. Yeah. And when like building Meji Meji, I like to call it like the ministry. So the ministry marches forward. And it's like when I look at like all the things that's happened in my life and like where I am, is like I feel like I'm destined and kind of in a form of like ordained for this. Like at times when I feel like, oh, this is bigger than me, I realized that kind of like God chose me to do this. So it's like I need to always kind of give myself grace. But Meji Meji, I like to look at it as a women's-led contemporary African forward brand centered around culture, history, pretty much trying to create clothing that are a form of heirloom, something that's a memorabilia, something that you can pass on, and just like kind of pushing out the femme fatale in you. So I'm Tolu Oye, but there's obviously Meji Meji Mama, which is like my alter ego. And it's like kind of living the world through her. So I would say like one of my goals this year is to be like more founder forward and not to be shy. When it comes to,
we want to see you, girl. We want to see you. Yeah, we want to know. So this is
But it's
great.
like it's so hard to be like founder led. But I told myself this year, it's like, okay, I need to push myself out there, and that's the Meji Meji Mama talking to me, like, girl.
Okay, and
you
that's
gotta be outside.
Ego that you need, the way that Beyonce needs Sasha Fierce to get out on that stage. If Meji Meji Mama was what you need to come and be founder forward, and because I feel like we're in an age right now where a lot of brands do well, if they do well, regardless. But I feel like for a lot of us, knowing who the founder is, knowing your story, knowing your journey, how you got there, a bit of your personality, obviously you share as much and as little as you wish to. But I feel like it really makes a difference because some people just want to connect with other people. And want to understand who you are and what inspires you, because you're bringing these pieces that inspire other people, that bring up nostalgia and history and culture and memories like you just mentioned. And it's obviously coming from your brain and your team as well. And so I feel like it makes more sense for us to know more about you.
So I recently did a panel. Like, I've just been saying yes to a lot of things. Good. I recently did a panel at a university, and it was like about like 500 students.
Where was that?
In Ekiti.
Okay.
In Ondo State. So that was like kind of like the wake-up call for me. That was like, okay, Tolu, you need to share your story. Because seeing all the young girls around just like looking up to me, like sometimes like when you're building this, you kind of just feel like you're in your own world, but you don't know how like your story has like affected other people's story to just grow and just like go out in the world. So seeing them like coming up to me, I'm like, it's like an weird outer body experience. But it's like, oh wow, you really look up to me. Wow.
Right. And I feel like it takes time. Like you said, previously you haven't maybe felt comfortable or trying to figure it out, but maybe that moment of you speaking at that panel now made you realize, yes, that this is your calling, but also putting yourself out there more in the way you feel comfortable is part of that calling. And you had to just slowly get into it. I feel like you just have to slowly grow into these new concepts and feelings and environments, but inspiring other women and other creators around the world, and especially in Nigeria as well, is something that like can change people's lives, you know, like hearing your story and seeing what you've been able to do. So yeah, I feel like it's really good for you to get out there as comfortable as you can be, as comfortable as you want to be, and also at your own pace. You don't have to go, okay, we're going to do every podcast, every this, just how it feels natural for you. But people want to hear what you have to say.
Thank you.
Absolutely. want to hear about your experiences. And talking about your experiences, I want to know a little bit more about you. We're taking away Meji Meji Mama. We're taking away all of the, we want to know Tolu.
Tolu's on the hot seat.
Yes.
Okay.
So let's get a little bit more into who you were before Meji Meji existed. So we're going to have, where did you grow up? What was your childhood like? And what is your earliest memory of feeling connected or drawn to fashion or style? So let's start with, I know I just threw loads of questions at you. where did you grow up? What was your childhood like?
Okay, so I left Nigeria at the age of 5. I grew up in Columbus, Ohio, so I'm literally a Midwest girly at heart. My upbringing was a combination of the salon, the church, and I feel like that kind of shows in my work.
Yes,
my mom worked in a salon growing up, so after school I'll walk there and kind of just sit there, help her with her clients. There was always Nollywood movies playing in the back, and the salon as well was like a combination of like they sold fabric. So think of like your like traditional braiding salon in the States. So it had a combination of that. My dad is a pastor, so I grew up in the church. I was hospitality, usher, choir, and I can't sing. I've played every role in the church.
Done it all.
Done it all. And then thinking childhood, what else about my childhood? About little Tolu. My mom also, like her background, she was like a seamstress. So I all kind of like watched her make like our dresses to church or like any little alteration. And that was kind of like my first introduction to sewing and understanding like the importance of how clothes fit. She would start off with, I say like coupon papers, and she'll kind of show me like how to cut patterns from coupon papers. And then she'll teach me how to stitch through there. We would go to Joann's, even though I believe they went bankrupt. Joann's was my childhood. Like I'll go in there, get
Is that a store in
it's
the
a
Midwest?
fabric store, yeah.
In
Midwest, yeah.
Okay.
It's like a Michael's, like an arts and crafts store.
Yeah.
So like I'll go there, buy like my fabric, I'll test it out. So like every week I was kind of just designing something. Like in high school, I was the girl who would make like my friend's prom clothes, or like I'll make yes, like
so you can sew.
No, I can sew, yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
So you got the technical skill as well as
like I can sew. Like I was always doing some DIY from YouTube. I don't know if you remember the era where like people would make the cloudy sweatshirts, and they'll like kind of take like acrylic paint to make it look cloudy, and then you put some bedazzle. I
remember the bedazzling at least, because I was bedazzling a lot of my clothes, and we were accessorizing, adding things to them. I'm not sure.
I had like Superman shorts, and then I'll put like the Superman fabric on it. When Tom's was a thing, slap on some fabric on Tom's. Like I was always
kind of, what's the word? It's not upholstering or recycling or
upholstering.
Like clothes. Oh, that's really cool. So creativity was running through your home essentially, like your mom being a seamstress and also being in the hair salon as well, and around like different fabrics and materials as well. So would you say that you feel like just design and fashion, or just the world of just clothes has always just been in you? Like it's just something that's so natural for you?
Yeah, I think it's always something that I knew. Like, people will come over and be like, oh, Tolu, what do you want to be? I'm like, I want to be a designer. And they're like, designer, I can't, like, design. And I'm like, no, I want to be a designer. And there's always something that I've known that I wanted to do. And I'm just so grateful that I had parents that, like, never denied me from, like, the will to live my dream in that sense, especially, like, having African parents. And I think for my mom, it's because like she studied accounting, but she wanted to go like the creative route, but it's like there's no job in creativity. So she didn't want that cycle to repeat. So I'm so grateful like I had her with that.
That's so beautiful. It's so important to have parents who are supportive of your dreams, like you said, especially having African parents or just Black parents. I feel like, or even sometimes just parents of different ethnicities. Having expectations for you and for what you should and shouldn't do. And so I think knowing that you had that support, it's just crazy to think what your life could be like if you didn't have it.
Yeah,
you know,
no,
like
seriously.
where you would be. Like it's so important because a lot of people want to make their parents happy, or even if they don't want to make their parents happy, they just do what their parents say because they don't feel like they had a choice. So allowing you to have that autonomy in your life is amazing. And shout out to them because now we have Meji Meji.
They literally let me move to New York at 16.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Oh, they
like,
really believe. They said, that's incredible. And that's something you hear often. I feel like from any parents. Like that's amazing.
I put together like a PowerPoint of like why I needed to move to New York.
Okay.
And then they're like, okay, you know what? She's on to something. So I moved to New York at 16 and I did like high school there and then uni as well.
Oh, yeah. And so that goes into my next question. I know you went to fashion school, right? I'm not sure where. That was in New York as well?
That was in New York, yeah.
How do you feel like that experience prepared you for this journey you're on with your brand? Or do you feel like it didn't prepare you? Do you feel like there's something that you had to take out of your mind and rewire after you left into building a brand? Did you find it helpful?
Oh, I definitely did find it helpful. There was different elements that like I kind of ran with it and things that I didn't run with, essentially. So I went to a career technical high school first, and I studied fashion for 2 years when I moved to New York.
Okay.
So that was my junior and senior year. And then during that period, I was taking classes at FIT, so Fashion Institute of Technology, so I can get into the school.
Okay,
So
I think I've heard of that school.
Yeah.
Is it quite big?
It's big. It's one of the top fashion schools.
Oh, period.
Yeah.
She said, because academically I had to get in.
And I was in.
I did. Love it.
So went to FIT. My background there was advertising, marketing, communication. So when it comes to like storytelling, marketing, and understanding how to kind of build a narrative, that's kind of what I learned from that role. And then I was like, that's not enough. I want to get my design degree. So I now went back. After my bachelor's, I now decided to get an associate in fashion design. And I did like an accelerated program because it's just like, okay, I want to be called a designer, and I want my flowers. And going to design school, I feel like, you know, especially living in New York, it was like, did you go to Parsons? Did you go to Pratt? Did you go to FIT? And it's like, I want to be able to say, I did that.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, I think it's important for everyone to define their own ways in which they would want to move forward and feel like they're like making sense of their career. And so I love that you have that foundation that you have and could fall back on, and you actually feel like you benefited from it as well. I think that's really important. And so did you always believe this would be a career, like having your own brand? Did you always know? Because I know you said you wanted to be a designer, but did you think you designed for someone else? Was it always, I'm going to have my own thing?
So during uni, I was working at Laquan Smith. So that was my first introduction to like New York Fashion Week. And also during that time at school, like when you go to design school, they're always pushing like couture, runway. And I kind of like didn't feel like I fit into that box.
Didn't connect with it?
Didn't connect with it because it's like, I want to design everyday wear that is still beautiful, that still stand out. But it's like, that was kind of like the designers that they were pushing for. So I still was like in a state of like in denial. But what happened was while working at Laquan Smith, then like COVID happened, right? So that was 2020. And I was like, oh my goodness, if the world comes to an end, was one thing that I would be upset at myself for not like taking the leap of faith and starting a brand, which was Meji Meji. So during that 2020, I just spent the entire year kind of like researching like the brand identity, what I wanted. And before that, I already kind of had like a taste of business. I owned a wellness/beauty brand at that time called Oye Shea Butter. So
amazing.
I kind of was already like using that opportunity to learn how to like tell story through like Instagram, curation. I was always having shoots like in my apartment. So it was already like me kind of like building the grounds in a sense. But yeah, COVID really shifted my entire like perspective of what I wanted to do. So yeah.
Yeah, that's so interesting. And so do you feel like if the pandemic didn't happen, you wouldn't have started it, or do you think it would have just come later? Like, do you feel that was a big catalyst?
It would have came later, but it was one of those things like, I'm just stuck, and I was stuck in my head. And at that time, I was just sewing, like I kept sewing. I made a bucket hat and like a face mask, which now later on got picked up in Nordstrom like the following year. So it was just like, there was like different things that was happening in my life that just made sense.
Felt like a sign, like I'm on the right path.
So I had this one dream, and in the dream, I was like, you know when you're like in a park and there's like different pathways, and in the dream there was a pathway and I left like my sketchbook like on a bench or whatever. And then something was like, Tolu, go back and get your book. And then in the dream, I'm like, but no, I wanted to go to this side. This is where like my friends are going. But then it was like, no, like you gotta go and get your book. So I now ended up getting my book. And as soon as I got my sketchbook, like my entire life changed. Like the greenery in the dream, like everything, like the flowers started like blossoming. And I was like, okay. And when I started seeing those little signs, I was like, okay, this is like my calling.
Yeah, that's amazing that dream is so specific. Yeah. And I feel like you can tell from that dream. I can't even imagine how you felt waking up after that. 'Cause it was like a clear sign, like this is the path you're on. You know what you're meant to do. don't be in denial about it anymore. This is for you. And I feel like people tend to have these moments, whether it's a dream or just something that I feel like comes up in their life that just shows them, keep going, you're on the right path. And so talking of paths and journeys, obviously this podcast called The Roads We Take. And so I want to go into the segment called A Road Less Traveled. So I want to get more into the parts you've kind of touched on already, building Meji Meji, what it's like to build a brand. Like you said when you were researching the brand voice and how you wanted it to be and the identity and everything like that. So let's get into that, because I really feel like people who know Meji Meji or don't and will know now all agree it's just instantly recognizable. The brand voice, tone, identity, everything that you have created is so distinct. Like, I just feel like you just know. Do you know what I mean? Like, to the point where even if you don't have Meji Meji on the tops, because I know it's not printed on every top, I can kind of just tell if I saw someone in it and I hadn't seen before, I could kind of just tell by, I guess it is just a brand identity. Is that what it is, type of thing? Yeah, that's probably it. So yeah, I'm just really interested in that. And I know you just released a recent collection, where in May, it's May 2nd now, and we're in April, and you just released a recent collection, and I'm assuming there's more coming this year as well. So with all of that, how important do you feel like it is to find the right creative team to help you execute your ideas and your goals? Like your social media, for example, is amazing. The tone is so, like, again, I'm going to say unique, distinct, but it's consistent. It's like, how do you find a team who gets your vision and can take it out into the world and help the brand reach its potential?
Okay, so like my shirt says, your gift will make a room for you. And it's like one of my favorite Bible verses, Proverbs 18. And it's like, when you have that gift, people that share the same gift, they're going to come around you in a sense. So I've been blessed to have people who want to share the beauty of African culture in different forms. But it's like hard. You just have to like filter through. First, when I started, it was from just like my community. So like the person who worked on my branding was like my best friend, and we were both like roommates. So she was working on the brand identity, helping with the coloring, the logo, and different forms of storytelling. It's like, one thing is like, you can't do everything in one day. Like, Rome is not built in a day. So finding other people who share the same narrative and kind of learning how to delegate. And that's one thing that is still like, I'm still struggling in.
Because it's your baby.
It is my baby.
Yeah,
but I'm trying to
you'll see the improvement when you do delegate.
I know for sure. Like this year, because it's like, I think at first it was more of like, okay, this is something that I'm doing for fun, right? Like I knew I wanted this to be like a serious business and like something that's a household name. But at that time, I still had like my corporate job. But right when I left my corporate job, it was now I have to focus on this. So then it's like, okay, I really need to pour into this. But I'm always on social. I use hashtags just to like find people. Like, I'm never shy when it comes to like knowing what I want. If I see someone that has a talent that like I want to just create with, I go up to them and be like, I want to work with you.
That's good.
So yeah.
And that's important, to be bold. And I think that's really important for people who are listening, watching, who are going to create their own businesses, their own brands, whatever it is. I feel like I've taken 2 points from that. One, tapping into your community. The other day on Instagram, doom scrolling, I did see somebody, and I can't remember who it was, but it was also a founder of a brand that's doing really well. I genuinely just can't remember. But he was saying that so many people always want to work with the people who are already well established. They always want to work with the people who are doing well. I wish I knew who said it. But he was like,
you have so...
Yes, it was
Clint.
Thank you, And when he said that, I was like, it's so true. You're always thinking, oh, I want to be on this person's team, or I want this person on my team because they do this, and they have this many followers, or they've done these campaigns, or they've done this and that. And it's like, but those people started from somewhere. And in your community, you more than likely have people around you who have these talents, these gifts, and are aspiring to be great. Those are the people you should get on your team. And then you go together and you guys rise together. And I think that's such a good point. So I feel like you tapping in with people that you just know, but then also saying, okay, there's some things that I can't do myself. I need to go and find this.
No,
and so
seriously.
I love that. That's so important. That's so like beyond important. And
like,
I feel like
going to art school, I was always surrounded by artists. So that was like a combination of that, artist friends that just were like kind of like heroes in whatever they did. So now all these miniature heroes coming together.
Yeah.
It's like...
So we're the little Avengers.
No, literally.
I love it. And so I'm creative. I'm curious about you as a creative and what inspires you. You know, when we look at the Meji Meji designs, we're seeing different things, like the things that appear on like Danfo buses in Nigeria, the recent color riot top that kind of is inspired by Nigerian laundry detergent, packaging, hair salons and hairstyles, and just like I said, the individual tone and expression that's so unique. How do these ideas usually come to you? Like, how do you pick these things? I know you said a bit about your upbringing and that can make sense for something like this, but some of the other elements in the brand that we see, how do these come to you and your team?
So like I've always been obsessed with like typography and like iconography in terms of just like the colors, especially when you look in the back of like a Danfo bus. I always look at it as like my morning motivation, just driving, you see Jesus love you or something it's like all that kind of like merged into a pot. I grew up in the States and I will always try to get in trouble so my parents can send me back to Nigeria because I was like obsessed with like
you wanted the era. You were like, let me go back.
I was like, send me back. And my parents was like, you're not going back. So I've always had like just a obsession about my culture in a sense. And I wanted to study anthropology, just like the beauty of culture, but like I wanted to focus into hair. And there was another book I read when I was younger, like called Ayo Top City. And it was based in like Abidjan. And it was about this girl who was like the center of the book. And it was kind of like an animation form. So like that world, and then like obsessed with like Betty Boo and how Betty Boo is just like this femme fatale and like she's just beautiful, and now kind of wanted to create that for like Meji Meji Mama and like this is my alter ego, this is my world, kind of like stepping into it.
Bring people into your world.
It's a mix of that. I
love that. So it's like we're almost experiencing your world, your creative mind and playground through the brand. I love that. And you're killing it, girl. You're killing it. And I know all of this doesn't come without its challenges. And that's what I really want to dig into, because I know myself as a very, very previously small brand owner, and right now I'm developing my new brand, just all of the challenges that come with it and just business, in life in general, but especially with building business. And I'm just curious that as you were getting into building Meji Meji, do you feel like there was a safe path? I mean, you literally just spoke about this with the dream, but did you, I guess, to go more into that, after you had that dream, for example, were you instantly like, I've got to pick up that book and go? Or did you still start? You're still corporate? Like, were you like, this is safer? What was that like?
So 2020 was like when I moved to Nigeria. So after COVID, I was like, okay, I want to go to Nigeria to actually immerse myself into the culture, since I didn't grow up in Nigeria, but I was my upbringing, like my parents are very traditional. So now 2021, I'm living in Nigeria for the first time and as an adult, right? So during that period, what was like another revelation was I got a cold email from Nordstrom. Mind you, this is my first year in business. And then in the email was like, we want to stock your product. This is the first product that I created. And I thought it was a scam. So I didn't respond back for like 2 weeks because I'm like, who is this?
Me.
Right. And then I now opened the email finally and it was like real. And I was like, oh shit, this is actually happening. And that was like post-graduation, first year. So that was like another revelation of like, okay, this is something that I'm meant to be doing. But like the journey was never easy because also that was my first biggest production. I think at that time they asked me to do like 1,000 units.
That's a lot.
1,000 units from like I was doing, let's say, 50 units. And I was like sewing them myself to now 1,000. So that taught me how to like seek for production, from fabrication to the sourcing to quality control. And then I'm also doing that in Nigeria during raining season. And that plays a big factor because it's adire. You need it, like it can't rain because the dye has to dry
out.
So it was just like a lot of other elements of delay. So like I learned so much in that period, and I think that was like a lightning speed. Because like I literally had to learn just so I can deliver
on the go,
on time, right?
Yeah, you're like learning as you're going.
I got that email May, and my deliverable time was July.
Oh, that's crazy.
Yeah.
1,000 pieces.
1,000 pieces. And I've never produced 1,000 pieces.
Kudos to you.
I've never produced 1,000 pieces.
That speaks to your determination and your ability to get ish done.
No,
that's incredible, girl. Like, so many people, I feel like, get caught up at that point of starting any business. This doesn't even have to be anything creative. That point of figuring it out, the research, the learning as you go, being okay with making mistakes, because I'm sure it wasn't perfect at that time. I'm sure some things happened.
I think for the longest, within like after it came out, I was so upset. Like, I don't ever want to do B2B. Like, I was like kind of like talking myself out of it, but I had to give myself grace. Like, this was your first time.
And you still did it.
And I still did it.
Like, that's insane, no matter what happened along the way. Because sometimes I get caught up like that. I'll talk about, even if I've achieved something, on the outside, everyone's just like, wow, you did this? Yeah. That's incredible. But then we're like, oh, but this happened and this happened. And
but no one
didn't
knows.
Like this. Not only no one knows, nobody cares because they still saw you execute. They don't know all the ish that happened in between.
Yeah.
So it's like us, we're like, no,
internalizing everything,
But meanwhile, people are like, oh, but you did
we loved it.
You know, like even when I talk about starting this podcast, I wanted to start it for over a year and a half beforehand. And so now I've started it. Oftentimes, people are like, wow, that's so amazing. You went for it. So many people say they're going to do it and they don't do it. And I'm like, yeah, but it took me so long. I wanted to do it a year and a half ago. And they're like, okay, but it's here now.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's true. I kept always telling people, oh my God, I know. I just wanted to do this for so long. And I kept delaying and I had doubts. And they're like, okay, but you did it. It's like, that's amazing. Like, focus on that part. And so I feel like that's really good to just always remember to come back to that. The achievement still occurred, regardless if it didn't go the way that we wanted, or at the time, scale, whatever frame that we wanted, it still happened. And so I'm also curious, as we talk about uncertainty and then choosing paths, as you were building Meji Meji, was there any moment where you felt uncertain as now you've launched it? 2020, COVID happens, you're getting into the brand, or even in the recent years since then, any moments where you were uncertain but you said, I'm going to go through with this?
Every other day.
Every other day?
Every other day. Because I'm still like a founder. Like, this is like, even though I've had several different businesses, it still feels brand new in a way. And it's like I'm 5 years in. And I think as people, we kind of get into a state of comparison and like seeing what other people are doing. But I also have to remind myself, like, I'm comparing myself to like a brand that's probably been there for like 40 years versus me that I'm like
200 employees.
200 employee versus me, this is like my 5th year in the game. Yeah. It's like everything does take time, and learning how to actually just give myself grace, because like we can be our worst critics in a time.
Absolutely.
And that's like something I'm relearning again. And it's like I always have to constantly remind myself that God chose me. Like,
yes.
Like he could have chose anybody else to share this brand story, but he wanted to use me for that. And one thing that every time when I think about it, I remember is like one of my favorite prayers that my parents would say, and it was like, call one person, 1,000 will follow. And it's like, they used to say that when I was young, right? And the fact that now I can really see the testament of that the people who are just like within our community and want to see the brand grow.
Yes.
And it's like, call one person and 1,000 will follow. And it's insane.
That. And it's true. Like, you really have built a community. I feel like you have the sort of customer base that we're waiting for the drops.
I know.
I'm waiting. I'm on Instagram scrolling. When you when you sneak peek something, I'm like, okay, when's it coming out? It's almost like crack. I'm itching.
Yeah, and I know. I see your text coming. I'm like, Lord, I know what she wants. I know what she wants.
What's going on? That's so true. And so, do you feel like you ever felt like quitting?
Oh, I'm too deep in. There's no quitting. I think for me, it's just understanding what scaling look like and what I want from it. And okay, how do I create a brand that has longevity? I don't ever want to be, what is it called? A one-hit wonder. Yeah. And it's just like, with Meji Meji, I want to create a world. I look at Meji Meji as my World Disney, in a sense, where there's different facets to it. From there's the fashion aspect to the film aspect. We're like now getting into like short film to different element. I just want to be able to create even just jobs for people. Because I think when you think about it, it's like, you always think about roles of like something serious, like not, well, this is serious, like this is very, very serious. But it's like, you always think about it like, okay, the corporate ladder, being able to still create a corporate ladder within the company in a sense. So yeah.
Yeah, of course. people still build their careers
Yeah.
within your company the way they would in a company that's been around for 20, 25 years.
Exactly.
You can continue scaling and growing for sure. Oh, and you just said something that really hit with me. Oh, you said, I'm too deep in now. And that's something I just want to pause and frame because again, like I said, this podcast is for people who are figuring out what's next. They have call-ins, they have dreams, but they're scared. And I feel like that is such a great example of I've started now and I'm committed to it because this is what I want to do, regardless of the fact that it gets hard. Regardless of, oh God, it would be easier to stop this. I want to quit. You keep pushing because I've started something here and it would be a disservice to God's plan for you to stop. And I think we really have to listen to that and tap into that. Like if you feel this calling from God, you feel like this is what you're meant to be doing, it's just a disservice to not do it. It almost feels seriously like wrong to not.
And that's why like where I'm at right now is just like equipping myself with like people who just pour into me. Because it's like I have like some low days of like, why am I even doing this again? Because like I'll be on a call with production team 4 a.m. just stressing out. Like my sleep pattern is a mess.
Gosh, girl.
It's a mess.
Well, for someone who doesn't sleep well, you look good.
Thank you.
So, period. And so what's something that was harder than expected when you first started? What's some element of building the brand, the business, the back end that you were like, yo, I did not expect this to be rough?
Letting go and delegating. Because like, I'm very hands-on. So like everything is in my head. So like sometimes I feel like people can interpret what's in my head, but being able to like communicate well
so
and
important.
It's like just that. And just like I think one thing I'm still learning is like the importance of structure. Like it's so like it makes sense. At first, like when I was working at Walmart as a creative producer, and that was like my first big girl job. And then I'll look at all the different folders we'll have of like assets 1, asset 4, and like it literally all makes sense just to build that structure.
What does that entail? Sorry, a creative producer at Walmart. I'm just so curious.
So like my role was like all of our social assets. So for example, we'll have like clients like Cardi B, we had Taraji, and they will have like their different brands within Walmart, right? So all their social assets in the sense of like commercials or graphics asset or like if they had like festivals. So pretty much like a project manager, but from a creative sector. So
Okay, that's really cool. Yeah, I was just curious about that because I was like, never heard anybody do anything like that with Walmart. So that's really cool. This is just so much good stuff. And it's like, not only am I chatting with you here as my podcast, but just in general as an aspiring business owner and as someone who loves the brand. Like you said, you be getting them texts from me, girl.
I be like, Lord.
Blame my sister, because she'd be like, don't, because I'd be like, oh, can you answer? She's like, just text her
you're
direct.
not the only one.
She's like, just text her directly.
My WhatsApp is like,
oh my God.
But I still get to that. I
try to keep it light. And for me, it's always like a,
Yeah.
And we appreciate you for that.
Thank you.
And I want to get a bit more into the nostalgia of the brand, as it's nostalgia-led, the storytelling, that cultural history and those memories. The brand to me, and like I said, I can imagine to many people would agree, is deeply rooted in storytelling. And I think you giving us some context here is beautiful because we're understanding more the inspiration, where it's coming from. In the fashion world, when you came into it, when you launched your brand, do you feel like these were stories that were missing from the fashion space that you needed to share? That nostalgia, African nostalgia feel. Did you feel like that was like, I need to fill this space? Like,
yeah. So it's like, at first when I started Meji Meji, it was more centered on like creating a Nigerian brand that was centered on history, African culture. But now where I'm at is more beyond that. Is like building a Pan-African brand, because it's like we all kind of share the same stories in just different fonts in a sense. Right. But it was just a gap, especially when you think of like contemporary everyday women's wear, right? It was like at that time, like I was obsessed with like graphic tees, and then like I'm always like the one like tying them in the back in a sense, just to like be more cute and more fun. And then just like realizing that there's not a space for that. I mean, like there's Daily Paper, there's Cortez, there's Kai, there's a whole bunch of brands that are doing like amazing in their field and kind of still touching on their roots, but it's like okay, I want to create something too.
Yeah,
so then that's how Meji Meji is like, I want to build that.
Yeah,
so,
It's your contribution, and I think like all those brands that you mentioned, and of course there's so many more. Everyone is all sharing their own worlds and the identity of their brands and all the thoughts and amazing ideas in their head. And I feel like everyone's just so individually doing it in their lane, and I think that space that you feel of that nostalgia of the boldness, but the storytelling as well, I think is so important. And I think it's a really large part of what is connecting the diaspora. And you don't even necessarily have to be Nigerian as well to connect with that.
Exactly.
Because you're just seeing images of Black people on clothes. That's beautiful. That's something that we haven't seen. And I think you going for the more casual vibe rather than going for high-end designer, which you were probably learning in fashion school, it's just so great.
Yeah, and it's like, for me at first, that's what I was saying, like, I realized that it was bigger than me in a sense. Like, when I would go, my sister used to live in South Africa, and I would stay with her for like 3 months, like different pockets of time, and people will still resonate with like Meji Meji, and it's like, oh wow, we needed this. And then it was like, now seeing that, wow, I'm actually filling a gap for other countries.
Exactly.
And it's like, that's why I like to look at it like I'm spreading the ministry, like the ministry marches on. So some days you'll see us in South Africa, some days you'll see us in Ghana, some days you'll see us in Nigeria, and now we're going to like New York. It's just like kind of like spreading that. And for me, like nostalgia is like, I've just been obsessed with like, I'm just obsessed, like from the packaging, the coloring. And my grandmother always had like a trunket, and I would go through the trunket and she'll keep like different things from like rappers. We just had this top that came out, which was our family album.
Yeah.
And that top
the long
was
sleeve one.
Long sleeve
I was
one.
gonna wear that. I was in between and that.
I was gonna wear that, but I was
in
like,
between it.
Yeah.
Love that. It's beautiful.
That top is a combination of family photos that I found in the 1960s. And then it's so crazy because I found those photos in 2019, and I took those photos back and I scanned them with always a notion of like, I'm going to do something with it. And the fact that the product just came out this year is a testament of like, even though you don't do it at that moment, when you find the time to do it and execute it right, that's all that matters.
Yeah.
Because like you said, no one cares that you didn't do it 5 years ago. But now what they see is that finished product from something that was brewing like, I'm not good at math, but since 2019. I'll figure out the math.
Until now?
Until
7
now.
years. 7 years. You got it, girl. And I'm not good at maths either.
Yeah.
But as long as it's up to 10, I got it.
I see what you did there.
Mine is not that great. Yeah, and I love that what you were saying about getting the photos back in 2019 and holding on to them and always having an intention for them. That's like the intentionality of the brand. I always love hearing that when people say, oh yeah, I had this since then. It's giving Beyonce when she knew she knew exactly what she wanted to do, like with the Renaissance Part 3. Obviously, you can tell I'm Bayhive because I've mentioned her twice now. It's because you're giving me you're my Beyonce.
You. Oh, stop.
Yeah, I just love that intentionality. And like you were just talking about seeing photos and different trinkets and little things saved when you went home and saw your grandmother's trunk. What are those specific Nigerian environments that you remember or that inspire you, in general?
So, like I mentioned earlier, like I left at the age of 5. So my first trip back to Nigeria was at the age of 12, and we stayed in Nigeria for a month, and I was pretty much staying in the mainland with my grandmother, and she lived in Agege, and it's so crazy because the street that she lives on is called Meji Street.
Oh,
yeah.
Wow.
So which means 2 friends. So also means double in a way.
Oh
right.
Gosh.
And her name is
so connected.
Yeah, her name is Taiwo, which is like what you name twins.
And your twin.
And her last name is Taiwo. So 2. So it's just like this
everything is there.
Everything is there.
Out,
yeah.
And it was just for you to
just like
tap
literally.
into it.
And it's like
yeah. Wow. I love that.
Those different elements of just like family time, Christmas, us like wearing Ashobi together, just like all of those in one in a sense. So
yeah. And so when you came back when you were 12,
I don't remember.
Were there parts of your culture that you rediscovered and like fell back? I know you left at 5 previous to then, but maybe there were some things that you were observing while you were in the States of Nigeria from afar. Was there anything that you felt like you connected with deeply when you came back to Nigeria?
Yeah, I think,
and even after 12, any other times that you came?
I think that was like a major turning point for me because I grew up predominantly PWI, like in the Midwest.
For those who aren't from the US, that means predominantly white institutions, universities.
So like I grew up in that sector. And so like I had this whole phase where like always was in a wig, like always in a wig. Like I was just really kind of
not imagine you doing that, because one thing about you is you're gonna have a hairstyle exactly down. Like the most creative, beautiful hairstyles. And you can braid too, right?
Yeah.
I've seen you on the set when maybe for this top, where you were braiding some of the girls' hairs in these ornate, intricate styles. So sorry, but you do a style. So it's just interesting to hear that.
No, that was like the major shift.
Yeah.
I literally always had a bust down. I mean, I'll still put on a bust down, but I would just, I really do. But I think it was like one of those things is like, I just didn't want to show that I was African, or like I was too African in a way. So I was kind of like hiding from my identity. And I think that trip at that age, I was 12. I don't remember, like I said, bad with math. But it was just a turning point for me of like embracing my culture and like seeing like the beauty in being Black, being African, and being like bold about it. Yeah. Being being
unapologetic.
Exactly. Yeah. And just like, that was what I needed. Yeah. So after that, like, it was like a whole, is it 180 or 360? It was one of them.
Oh.
Yeah.
If it's half, it's 180. I'm thinking if it's a full way,
it's a 360.
Okay.
Yeah. So it was
we're out here struggling to get.
Yeah. It was a 360.
we need a math tutor.
Jesus. It was a 360.
Yeah.
But that was kind of what changed the trajectory of like, okay, I want to learn more of my culture. Yeah. And I wanted to be more in tune. So yeah.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And I feel like, even myself, I feel like I'm connected more and more with my culture based on just my upbringing. And being in Nigeria always just helps me feel more connected to that. And there's little things that I feel like I'm connecting with more and more and tapping into. And so I love that. I love hearing that. And I'm sure that can connect for a lot of people, because a lot of us are of the diaspora. Yeah. Whether you're Nigerian or whether an African country, a Caribbean country, whatever, like just to be of the diaspora, to just be living in other places away from your origin, finding ways to reconnect. And obviously, like you said, your parents are very traditional, so you still have that aspect at home. Yeah. But it must be such a beautiful experience to then come to Nigeria and develop your own memories and make your own connections and take inspiration from those things as well. So I love that. And so do you feel like there's any emotion that you would want people to feel when they wear Meji Meji? Is there a feeling or a vibe? I know you spoke about femme fatale and you spoke about nostalgia, making it modern as well, and contemporary. But is there like a feeling that you have when you wear it, or you want to hear other people say like, yeah, I feel so this and that?
I'm trying to like pick a song that like...
Oh, a song? Yeah. Okay, what song would describe Meji Meji? Even better question. Thank you.
Jesus.
We're gonna be
here forever.
I'm like, actually, as soon as I said that,
I think that's for hard. Me is like literally being like, oh my God, Megan Thee Stallion. What's her? Is it? I'm trying to remember Megan Thee Stallion's alter ego name. Snow White.
Tina Snow.
Yeah. It's just like kind of creating that alter ego for yourself, being that femme fatale, and just like being unapologetic about it. Because I think growing up here, or just being a Black woman, like you're kind of taught to like, you know, dim your light in a way, you know, kind of be not assertive, not too much, and just being so the opposite of that, being bold, being okay with being bold, and just being you, and just being okay with that. And I think I struggle with that for the longest, because I also grew up a PK, so which is pastor child, pastor kid. So it was like always having to conform, right? So it's like I have this both identity of like my Christian upbringing, but then I want to be like this femme fatale. I want to be a playboy, but it's like, how do you have like,
how do you balance
that in a way? So I kind of like always struggle with that in a sense, but then that's where Meji Meji Mama is. And
I feel like you captured that really well though. Like when I put on these clothes, it speaks for itself. It almost makes the outfit, and I feel confident, I feel bold in it, because the designs are, I feel like, leading. They're helping me walk into a room and feel like that girl. So I love that. So as we get slowly towards wrapping up, I do want to go into the next segment, which is called the Map Isn't Mapping. And this is basically a segment where you give advice to someone aspiring to enter your field, or just have some inspiration from you. So I did ask on my TikTok, the Roads We Take podcast on TikTok, just some questions for you. And this is kind of giving like agony aunt, but
okay,
let's make it Meji Meji Mama style. So there's a few questions and we'll see which ones we can get through. So for someone who feels, let me make sure I read this person's question right, child. For someone who feels the pull towards starting their own brand and taking a leap of faith on their creative ideas, but is scared to act, what would you say to them?
Like Nike said, you just got to do it. Just do it. I think, honestly, the first shot is not going to be the best, but what happens is when you have consistency, you just grow into the better version of yourself. Yeah. So once you start now, you've already killed a couple of stones, which is the fear. Yeah. It's like, and at the end of the day, when you look at like all the entrepreneurs, they're not the smartest. The only difference is like they're risk takers. So if you can get over that fear of yourself.
Preach it, Tolu, please.
Yeah.
Preach it, please.
Well,
like, for real. Preach that. Because I don't think enough people realize you don't have to be the best at it. Yeah. This perfectionism thing is stopping us. And that's, as someone who had to recover from wanting to be a perfectionist, I realized it was procrastination.
No, yeah.
Take the risk, start. Yeah. What is that basketball kind of phrase? Like, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. You saying now just about taking a shot remind me of that. Like, some of them aren't gonna Kobe, some of them, rest in peace, some of them aren't gonna land the shots. But if you don't take any of them, how will you know which ones will land? How will you know what could happen?
And like accepting failure, because it's like that's one thing I struggle with, but it's like you literally have to be okay with the idea of failing. Like, but you tried.
You won't ever begin.
Yeah. So, and it's like, true. Don't ever have anyone fault you for failing, because at least you tried. And what did they do?
Yeah, exactly. And then now you have the experience. Exactly. I always say that. One of my businesses, I closed it because it was stressing me out. And in a way, I always say to myself, like, oh, it's kind of like a failure. But already I'm thinking of, this isn't my fashion business, it's like my group trip business. But already I'm thinking of like bringing it back. And I'm like, whenever I talk to my friends about it, they're like, yeah, but now you just have all the experience.
Yeah, and there's so much time that's passed.
Yeah, you know what to do now.
Exactly.
So it's like, don't always feel like the failure is the end. Lots of business owners who are really successful now had many failed ideas and businesses to start with. Love that. Okay, let's go on to the next one. What advice would you give to someone who is trying to build something rooted in who they are, but they don't yet feel confident in their voice? Or maybe some tips to tap into, I don't know, connecting your voice to your brand? Or like...
I think for me, when I started, I kind of just had a journal, right? And I'll write different elements of like who I am or different aspect of where I wanted the brand to like touch on. And that kind of like seeing things on paper is always helpful, right? And then seeing other people doing it in their own form is also helpful, because it's just like, okay, it's possible in a sense.
Wrong with taking inspiration from
it's
others.
Possible. Yeah. So absolutely. I think a mix of that. I think when I like look at other people that I aspire to be, it's like, okay, I can do that. Yeah. What else are other tools? Finding a mentor. And a mentor doesn't even have to be like in the same field as you. You can find a mentor from like the business aspect. And then just having pockets of people that you're consistently having like conversations with. Which is so funny because you had Buki on the podcast. Yeah. And I met Buki, what year are we? We're in 2026. I think I met her in 2024, and it was like a bad year. Like things was just going wrong. I lost like $3,000 on production. The item never got delivered to like the pop-up location. And then the item now got lost. I was just having like a really, really bad year. And then Jade actually introduced me to Buki and was like, I think you should just like talk to her, you know? It doesn't have to be anything deep. And just being able to have one-on-one conversation with someone who's also in like my shoes and in my perspective, was just like, it was so welcoming, and it was such a safe space. And like that one conversation that I had with her really changed the trajectory of like where I am now. And it was just like, sometimes you just have to like speak, like, you know, closed mouth don't get fed. Literally.
And that's so beautiful. And I think that's so important as founders of brands, small, big, whatever, just chatting to each other, sharing knowledge and information. It's not always, I'm doing this, so we're in competition with each other. Like, we can all win. And so I love that you two connected in that way, and you feel like it genuinely helped you.
Shout out to you, Buki.
Shout out to you, Buki. I love that. And okay, let's see if I can get this last question in, because I know the people wrote them in. I had to only choose a few. If you could go back and speak to yourself before starting, what would you say?
Don't be your worst critic.
Okay.
Yeah, because like I'm constantly like in my head of like, oh, especially when I started like, I'm not enough, I need more, oh, I'm not like this. I think once I got over that, everything just kind of like opened up. Because like if you have to change your perspective of how you see yourself.
Yeah.
Like you have to like really speak life into yourself. So that was like one thing. And it's just like also understanding like there's a time and season for everything. That was like one of my other, I'm always butchering this by Ecclesiastes or whatever, something like that.
Yeah.
But it's like 3:2. And it's like, there's a time and season for everything. There's a time to mourn. There's a time to be happy. There's a time to dance. There's a time for everything. And so when it's your season, go for the home base.
Yeah.
Literally.
And you can feel when it's your season.
Yeah.
Like you can literally feel it. It's like things are lining up for me. It's crazy just not to go for it. And I feel like it comes. Talking on that, it's kind of my own little question. When did you feel like your season began?
I want to say like 2023. 2023 was 2023 was when my contract at Walmart ended, and it ended abruptly. And then I was in Nigeria, contract ended. I was still looking for other like remote work to do, and nothing was sticking. And I was like, you know what? I need to actually take this brand seriously. So that was like the turning point.
Yeah.
And then I put like my last thousands into like production, and I had no.
You bet on yourself.
I literally had no choice to be like, okay, this gotta work.
Yeah.
And once that happened, everything just started like snowballing, and it snowballed so beautiful. Now that I look at it, like wow. But yeah, that's
beautiful. I love that. There's almost these, like we said earlier about signs and just God figuring out the way. So now you're in a remote job and you're doing what you're doing, and then suddenly it stops, and you could force it to find another one to continue where you were, go somewhere else. Or you could say, I think it's time.
Yeah. And honestly, if I didn't, like, if my contract didn't end, I would have still been like, it would have still been like, okay, it's a hobby, it's cute, like I'm making this for myself. But that was the trajectory of like, this is a business. Like, girl.
I always say things happen at the right time, but it's like you said, you have to be patient. Okay, so going into wrapping up, I just kind of asked you already about if you were to speak to yourself before starting. What I also want to ask, this question I ask every guest towards the end, is that I want you to go back in your mind 10 years. We're in 2026 now, so you're going to 2016. So Meji Meji hasn't begun. Wow. I want you to think about Tolu in 2016. What would you tell her? She doesn't even have to be Meji Meji.
I was 18.
You were 18. What would you tell her back then? Considering everything you know now that you didn't know then. It doesn't have to be related to the brand. Just what would you tell her? 18-year-old Tolu. New York, right?
I was in New York. I was literally working in a production house. And I think what I would tell myself is like, everything would make sense. Just continue doing it. I think, you know, like I've had so many like different odd jobs from working in a production house, but everything kind of led up to who I am now. That production house is where I saw Laquan Smith, and I shot my shot of like, I want to work with you. From now working at Laquan Smith to understanding brand identity, understanding storytelling. Just love yourself more. Yeah, literally. Like,
because we could all do more of that.
Yeah. But yeah, girl, you're doing amazing. And yeah, I don't know. That's what I thought.
No, I think that's beautiful. I think that's beautiful. The success of Meji Meji and its standout nature literally cannot be denied.
Thank you.
Like, it's insane. Do you ever stop and think about, I know that I'm sure there's more you want to do, there's more to come, but 5 years in, I feel like you guys are having a great run, especially like the last couple of years. How does that feel when you just sit there? I know on the back end you might be stressed, but do you ever just sit there and go, I really did this. I really followed that. Like, thank you, God, I followed it and I'm here.
Yes, it's like a pinch me moment, because it's like, I'm like someone who like to be like a little incognito. So like, I'll go out with my friends.
Thank you for coming outside with me.
I'll go out with my friends, especially when I'm out with Jade. And Jade will be like, you know, this is the founder of Meji Meji. And
one thing about me and my sister, we're gonna cheerlead.
Yeah, I'm like,
we're gonna make sure.
And then just to like see people reaction, and I think that's always like the constant like, wow, for me, because it's just like, wow, I love what you build, and it's like, oh wow, I love what I build, and to see that the people resonate with what I build. It's just back to you call one person, 1,000 will follow. So I think that's just it. Yeah.
And you build something that matters to people.
Yeah.
And that in itself is so special when you actually, you've built something that people connect with on a human form. I feel like those are the brands that I want to follow, and it makes me feel like a part of it, you know?
And for me, I just want to be a vessel. That's how I want to be a vessel, and I want God to use me, and I want people to see the light, and so their light can show. Yeah. So that's, I'm just doing it.
And you're doing it, girl. You're shining.
Thank you.
Okay, so before we get out of here, quick rapid fire. I'm just going to ask you a few fun, cute questions. A Nigerian song that instantly takes you back.
Anonti. I don't know who that's from. Yeah, I love that song.
A smell that reminds you of home. Either or, Nigeria and Ohio.
Ooh, smell that reminds me of home. I like burnt jollof, like the bottom of the pot.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Okay. One Nigerian food you could eat forever.
Ooh, forever.
That's it. For infinity, one meal, one food.
I like moi moi, which is
really?
Yeah.
Forever?
Yeah.
The consistency. Let me not yuck someone's yum. Forever?
Forever, ever. Ever.
One Nigerian food, a meal I always say I could eat forever is okra soup with eba.
The thing is, I don't like
that soup.
I don't like things down my yo.
And the thing is I'm a weirdo in that way. I love slime. I love weird texture. Weird anything, texture-wise, gets me. Last question, Lagos or anywhere else in the world?
Ooh, I love the chaos of Lagos. And I feel like I lived in New York, so it's like another form of Lagos. So
literally. You're built for this.
Yeah.
Girl, thank you so much for coming on my podcast. This has been so fun, so insightful. I know that there's so many creative people out there who are hearing this, listening to this, watching this, whatever, and I'm just so inspired. Thank you for taking the time to share who you are, your journey, your story. I'm really honored that this is, I think, your first sit-down podcast.
Yeah, she literally burst in my bubble, y'all. But I'm happy.
I feel like a little fairy. But yeah, thank you so much. I'm really excited for this.
You.
And thank you guys for watching. Please subscribe to the Rose We Take podcast. Follow us on social media. We'll see you soon. Bye.